thank you for giving me some time today. Looking at your amazing setup. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Sophie, and I am one of 2 directors of Hay Regenerative Soil CIC.
Lovely. And this is your amazing pad.
This is our compost creation station.
Compost creation station. Love that. Love that. So I met you, maybe 4 years ago now. It's probably about 4 years ago.
Wow.
And you had a little setup before, didn't you? Not as good as you've got in it now. Look at this.
We've upgraded.
Upgraded. But you had drawers before, didn't you?
Yeah.
You were doing some food wasting. So what's the thought process with what you're doing? You know, what are you trying to achieve here?
So we started with 1 drawer at a wildlife campsite that was quite a mission away. And we found it really challenging because the community wanted to get involved and we wanted to have volunteers, but it wasn't really an appropriate setup. Like, there was horses always walking around, there was donkeys like breaking in, sausage dogs everywhere. And the demand was high for us to take more food waste from the community, and we couldn't fulfill the demand. So we applied for funding with the Brecon Beacons National Park, and they were like, great idea, we love this. So they funded us to upgrade. The castle have been really kind to let us dwell in their little old shed, which is amazing because this used to be, back in the day, like a little tarot reader. So she would sit here with her basket, all of her herbs everywhere, and you'd come in and get a reading. So we're like, there's magic here.
That's lovely. I love that.
But we started like over 4 years ago now. One of our founders, Hannah, who's no longer with us anymore, she took a big job with the Ecological Land Cooperative.
Okay.
That took up a lot of her time. But she went to a festival and watched a seminar with Tom, Old Tree Tom, and she was like, that is amazing. Like, why aren't we composting all of our food waste? This is silly. Like let's do it. And she pitched it to a group of friends, and we were all like, yes, it sounds great. So we just started. The community raised all the money for it, which was amazing. We put on a couple of benefit gigs. I screened a film that I made a couple of years ago, and through that we got so much interest that we were like, let's go for it. We did loads of art raffles, so the community donated their artwork, and we made enough money to get the drawer.
Brilliant,
so that
brilliant.
started it.
But it hasn't come without challenges, has it?
Yeah,
So do you want to explain? So I do these videos really to highlight obviously what you're doing, but also to give people the tools to be able to think about themselves. And if you're interested at all, drop me a DM, and I can put you in the right direction. But what were the big challenges in respects to upgrading to something like this and getting people on board?
So infrastructure placement was a challenge. We weren't originally going to be at the castle. We were going to be at the local arts centre, but their planning officers were against it. They thought it was a bit daft, it's a bit silly, it's going to be an eyesore for the community, people that are living nearby that can see it out their window where there was just a pristine lawn.
Okay.
Bringing something like this there, they were like, no, this is awful. And that was quite heartbreaking to us because Daisy and I are very arts rooted, so being at an art centre that was community felt really, really positive for us. So that was a challenge. But luckily, coming to the castle and asking if they would like to be more green and support a local initiative, that was great. Getting people on board is really interesting. Like,
you're struggling at the moment in respects to members.
Yeah.
Just to remind people, if you want to come on board, please get in contact with them.
It's a good thing to do, guys.
Good thing to do.
I mean, I think there's 2 things I think where people can't get their head around. First, it's paying for the membership. Why would people want to pay to have their food waste disposed of when they don't want to think about it? They don't want to have to pay an extra thing when people already pay their council tax, where the council come and do it. Yeah. Absolutely. So we try and tailor our drop-off service. It's £6 a month. That's 2 coffees out of the month, and they actually compost a lot more than the drop-off, the collection service. So the money is definitely a side of it, and also just there's the gap between people associating waste with it being their problem. We've kind of been brought up to just be quite wasteful, and that's not out of anyone's own individual fault. It's just kind of society or in consumerism. It's like take loads and waste loads and whatnot. So again, it's just like, why care about their veg peelings? There's a lot of people that compost at home, which is amazing. So anytime when we're kind of splurging to those people, it's like, great, we love you. when was the last time you got your compost tested? Because we'd love to see the results and maybe help and collaborate with getting some top-notch compost.
So on that point, obviously we were talking about what you have here. You have obviously got some other bits as well. You're doing soil testing as well. That's been quite a journey for you, hasn't it, in the last couple of years, and about understanding. So you obviously had a fascination with the soil. How have you got on with like the soil food web testing, etc.? How have you found that journey?
It's hard. It's really hard, and I think because I don't have any prior training in the science side of it. Like all my training has been with the arts. I did a permaculture design course when I was like 21, and I've always been fascinated with it, but I've never dived into the scientific side of it. And it's interesting, recently, since being here and getting the ride in, there's all these opportunities that I've applied for within the arts that aren't working for me. And I do feel like the universe is pushing me more down the scientific route now, and I'm like, all right, it's time. I think it's time to do microscopy training and like really go for this. Because also, like, again, because we're so arts orientated and we're like two gals that like to have a silly time,
Yeah.
I do feel like sometimes that projects to our audience that we're
Okay.
not serious.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a little hurdle that we're trying to get on top of now. So
And I think you'll find this, especially with farmers, with the agronomist side, etc. You know, they have the skill set because they've had the education, etc.
Yeah.
They've probably had 5-6 years worth of training with it, and then you're coming in and going, hey, you need to live in soil. This is the way to do it, etc.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit hard for them to kind of grasp and understand. But
Yeah.
I think this is the thing that people need to understand is that when we're adding on to the knowledge, we're not telling people that they're doing things wrong. And I think that's the key thing when people want to enjoy it, you know, come into these clubs, etc. They're doing it for the right purposes more than anything else, aren't they? So,
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're here because we want to collaborate.
Yeah.
We want to be like, we're collaborating with microbes. I feel like you guys want to be collaborating with microbes. And to a certain extent, you have been, but you don't really know you have been. And that relationship might not be that deep.
Yeah.
Like, let's all work together. Yeah.
And I think this is the thing is that when we look at the depreciation in soil structure, etc., there is always a blame culture. We, you know, unfortunately, as humans, we feel like we have to blame something, but that doesn't create change. And what I love about all the projects that I've shown over, you know, the last couple of videos is that these are small grassroots campaigns that are slowly, you know, generating some really good stuff. So your other partner is not here today, Daisy. So I think Daisy wanted to say a couple words. Over to you, Daisy.
Thank you very much. Yes, hi. My name is Daisy. I am the other director with Hay Regenerative Soils. I obviously couldn't be there on the day. So I'm, very grateful to have this kind of little space to express my insights and perspectives on those questions. I think Soph has really eloquently expressed that we have been going through this huge transition period, and I think that is like part and parcel of managing, running, starting a community enterprise project. You need to be able to grow, and I think the key to doing that organically and sustainably is, by paying attention to what makes your area unique and what your area's heritage is, and using your existing support network, using kind of what's in your fridge in terms of relationships, resources, materials, equipment. We had in the arts context, but a collaborator say to us that when running any kind of project, it's kind of like cooking dinner from scratch using whatever scraps you have in your fridge, and and obviously that will grow as the project grows and as the network that you rely on grows. But I think it's really important to kind of state and note that like none of this would happen if we didn't have kind of what we think of as, it's a safety net of knowledge and expertise, and that comes in the form of for us, because we're situated in the the heartlands of the Welsh borderlands, in Powys and Hay-on-Wye. That's the Brecon Beacons National Park. That's the Mycelium Network, a national organisation which we were lucky enough to meet Martin through. 4 years ago, you know. So that one of the things I want to say as well is that like that small site was such a like wonderful place. It was a learning space for us. It was the first place for us to really get to grips with aerobic composting and hot composting and the role the microbes play in all of this, and you know, with Martin every step of the way. And so I'm very proud of what we achieved there. And I think that is really a good example of what sustainable growth looks like, because we went at the pace that our learning journey required us to. You know, we didn't have the expertise to be delivering it on a larger scale yet. And now that we're at Hay Castle, this, you know, very, very visible heritage site connected to the town's history and the town's kind of identity, it feels very fitting that, I don't know, I think that we're able to really fulfill now our commitments as a community interest company, as a CIC, in a way that we weren't before, really, because we were on a learning process, and you know, that's okay. I think for sustainable growth, it's okay to take things as your capacity allows you to, you know. But obviously now we have the infrastructure, we have the physical equipment capacity to serve our community in a much more tangible way, which means that our community also owns the steam in a much more tangible way now, which is what we're trying to achieve. And we were talking about, you know, what are you trying to achieve here at Hay Castle, at your new site? I think it's really about facilitating a new kind of responsibility and stewardship of this, you know, amazing microbial material that we call food waste, but you know, is like, I don't know, like it's like liquid gold, and to help people see the value in keeping that in our town, in our economy, rather than it being sent away where we do not see any benefit of it whatsoever, and reframing what we should be valuing as we move through this, you know, kind of climate crisis. How to enact positive change using site-based action and processes. So, you know, I think, thinking about challenges that we've faced, one of the biggest challenges just in recent months and recent weeks has been getting to grips with our new infrastructure. That's always going to come with like a teething period, but obviously the Jora, as I'm sure everybody watching this will probably already know, is fairly, you know, we used it, so we fed it every 3 weeks, turned it as often as we could, and kind of monitored it in a very close way, because it was so far away from where all of us were based. And now we're in the center of town. The ride down is it's quite a self-sustaining piece of equipment, but just needs to be fed regularly. We didn't realize until very late in the day that it would only take 60 litres a day. We heard 400 litres and we're like, oh yeah, that's more than enough. Not realizing that was broken down again into 60 a day. So, you know, we had to rethink at quite short notice the steam that we would be offering, because the plan, you know, with our drop-off steam would be that cafes would be able to use that, and that hasn't been the case. It just means that we'll have to get another ride down. I think in terms of memberships, maintaining momentum has been a lesson. You know, like I think a lot of our initial membership enthusiasm, volunteer enthusiasm, was driven by the events that we were putting on, the fundraising gigs. You know, as Sophie said, we were entirely self-sustained in those early years. We didn't have any outside funding, and that meant that all the energy we had could go into creative projects that got people excited about what we were doing. And now I would say that our energy is going into fundraising for for wages, for one. That's the other next step in sustainability, is getting myself and Sophie paid for the work that we do. But, you know, also in terms of like long-term planning, like I just said, we want to get a second ride down, and that hasn't left a lot of room for like a very core part of what we do, which is our educational artistic outreach programs. we have just finished our a series of soil seminars that were as much about upskilling ourselves as they were the community. And I think that's a really key thing that we've had to kind of pick up as we go through, as again Soph said so perfectly, that we are in a constant process of learning. So any opportunity we can to kind of integrate that into the core business, we will. Hence the seminars that we helped host, we kind of facilitated. And I don't know, I think ultimately it's about support networks. I think it's like none of this would have happened if we hadn't paid attention to the context of our area, the heritage of our area, and the people who'd be willing to support and help. So, that is the Mycelium Network, that's Martin. But it's also the Brecon Beacons National Park. They funded all of the infrastructure we have at our compost creation station. And I think the framework that we are now exercising that is something that I think, I feel very deeply inspired by. That's drawing on my background as, an archaeologist, an anthropologist. I think that's kind of been the next level of trying to keep people engaged with what we do, which is, in archaeological terms, soil is kind of a record of the past. And so I think for me, soil is a lot about storytelling. It's a lot about heritage. And it's kind of the various analyses you can do of it, and physical scientific testing you can do of it is really magic. It's a way of piecing together a story. And when you want to get people excited and bring people together and enact real positive change in your community, in your wider society, it's often achieved via storytelling. That's how you get people to pay attention to whatever it is you want them to pay attention to. And I think soil unlocks what is generally always going to be, or has always been, invisible in terms of our relationship with it. Basically microbes. As Soph again said, we have been in an invisible relationship with them forever, but we're not aware of it. And I think food waste and composting is a really beautiful way of kind of telling that story and getting people to care about something that they didn't before. And likewise, you can bring that back to how do you get people to care, and tapping into your place's heritage. For the Welsh borderlands, a lot of that is about folklore and myth, and particularly the Mabinogion, which is a series of the oldest written Welsh folklore. And we try to connect what we are doing with our compost and our food waste and our soil to much older understandings of the landscape, because I think that really excites people and makes people feel connected. It connects to their understanding of their own identity. I think, across cultures, speaking again anthropologically, transitions and transformations are marked with ritual, and composting is a kind of transformation. It's waste into life. Our Raidan can sometimes feel like you're mixing a potion, you're mixing a cauldron. It's that childlike sense of wonder and awe. And that's what we try to instill in people who come to visit us. So I think, just as kind of archaeology reveals this kind of invisible microbial archive of the past, and that's how we learn about human stories in the past, literally what they burned, what they ate, what they believed ultimately. Soil is going to do the same in the future, as well as provide us with new life as we try to secure our food systems in this in a time of crisis. And composting seems like the key to that in my mind. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Daisy. Back in the room. Unfortunately, Daisy couldn't be with us today, but she is a big part of this project as well. It's not a single, obviously the community's helping, but you two have definitely been the drivers with this. So now I want to talk about obviously the process. We've done a lot of videos with process, but we have other things that you've invented, like your shredder, which we'll talk about later on. So can you just talk about the steps in respects to food waste, then into into what you the product, the end of product. So how does firstly, how does someone get involved with it, with yourself?
Cool. So it's just about emailing us, sending us a message on the website, sending us an email, social media, whatever. A lot of people actually just come in here when we're here and want to sign up, which is amazing. So we have 2 different subscriptions. One is a drop-off. It's much cheaper. It's half the price of the collection, and you get to compost 40 litres of food waste a month.
Okay.
So
what does that look like in respect to buckets?
Pink bucket.
Just going to get a bucket.
It's tough. So they fill up the pink bucket. It's £6, and they can drop off either on a Thursday or a Saturday, depending on which one works for them.
Yeah.
So we tailor it that way because Thursday's the farmers market, so
Yeah.
a lot of people are in then, and Saturday, obviously, people come in to do their shopping anyway. So they come in by themselves. Doors always open for people. They distribute their bucket into the Ryden, and then they match it with carbon, put it in, turn the handle, and leave.
Cool.
So
it's not actually, that doesn't sound too complicated.
No, and it's really nice because some of our members have children, and we've been here before cleaning and doing whatnot, and the kids will be in here doing it, which I'm like, yay!
So I'm looking at this bucket. I'm going to take your bucket away from you for people that don't see this. So how many of these do they get? One
a week.
a week.
So it's that they keep the same bucket.
Okay.
So sometimes people don't drop off every week because they don't fill it up every week.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are like, my bucket's too full, like, can I drop it off again? And we'll, depending on the capacity of the Ryden, we're either like, yeah, or sorry, no, you need to buy some Bokashi and sort it out yourself.
Dig and bash and Bokashi. But I think this is the thing is with, so I look at this bucket, and I obviously normal council caddies for large ones are about this size. And it's interesting because one thing I've learned with any of these projects is everything goes in here is money. And it's amazing how I feel that people that are looking at this really feel that there's a value, not just for what they're doing, but also like how much money is actually going into this.
Yeah.
Have you found over the months that people have been using it, their food waste has been going down, or has it been consistent?
Well, obviously we don't get to see what's in these pink buckets because people come and do it themselves, but we definitely notice some fluctuation with the Ryden.
Okay.
Sometimes we're in here and we're like, it's practically empty. No one's dropped off this week. But then some weeks it's really full and it's really hard to measure because the castle use it on a Sunday. We have the collections that come in and out. So yeah, it's really hard to say actually. It's really hard to say. But we kind of hope that people from this bucket, I think this bucket is quite big for a week. I've got one of these at home, and I'm single household. I live on my own. I'm a grower as well, so I eat a lot of my own produce, and therefore I do not want to waste my own produce. So it takes me about a month to fill up one of those.
Okay.
So yeah, it's interesting. We always tell our members as well, like if like you want to go halves with a neighbour, if you're finding you're not filling it up, like go for it. That's £3 a month, and you and your neighbour share it. So yeah, it's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. Oh, it's interesting because since I've been doing Bokashi, I've been doing it for 4 years now. It's a little bit of a running joke in our household between me and my wife about what we actually waste in it. And I am a bit of a stigma where I look at the, what's in there. So things like, I would always peel carrots. Again, it's, my parents have done it, my grandparents did it, etc. I realised I was like, actually, there's a lot of nutritional value.
Yes. I don't even peel my spuds.
I just wash them mud off it. It'd be fine. But yeah, I think it's about education thing. It's really interesting because some other projects I've been to, I've seen they've actually been kind of doing a bit of an audit in respects to how much food waste they're obviously putting through a process, but also they're asking members if how often they're doing it, etc. And the general impression I'm getting is people are reducing the amount of food waste it is, which sounds really weird because in your head you're thinking, well, it's £6 for your system. Actually, if I put more into it, I'm getting more value for money out of it.
Yeah.
But then it's that education bit, isn't it?
Yeah,
of people actually going, oh, I'm actually being wasteful here. And that's
Yeah.
actually my money that's going into that better asset. So it's not about, more is more. Actually, less is more when it comes to this.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our members are people that have known about us from the beginning, and that £6 for them is going towards keeping this project going.
Yeah.
Daisy and I do this completely voluntary. We don't get paid for it. That £6 covers our overheads.
Okay.
That buys the Bokashi, it pays the tax man his service, it buys tools and stuff, and pays for petrol if we need to go and pick up supplies. So I do feel like the money side of it isn't associated to the actual service. It's a donation towards the business.
Yeah.
Um,
So if you were going to get people to set this up themselves, obviously we talked about the issues with it, the positives. What do you feel that the positives, not just for you, but for the community? What do you feel that's giving you? Because that's really important. Why would you do it in the first place?
Yeah. Well, it's closing that circular system. Something that I really, really love and value so much is one of our collection members. She's the local baker. And she makes beautiful bread and pastries out of local grains. And the farmer who does the local grains comes to us to buy the compost. So that is a complete set, and that fills me up with so much joy. I'm like, oh my God, like when we collect her bucket and there's like bread in there or like dough that hasn't quite done its thing, that's going to make living soil that then goes back to that farmer. And that is so delicious. Yeah. And it's also like, our collections are completely fossil fuel free. Like we go on a bike and a trailer to collect the food waste.
Yeah.
The council food waste come in with those massive trucks. They drive it all the way to Bridgend, which is mental because...
Sorry, Hay-on-Wye
to Bridgend, which is wild. We have a biodigester in Talgarth, the next village, but it bypasses that and goes all the way to Bridgend. And it creates a disconnect as well between people and material. Like when I'm using my pink bucket, it is a ritual.
Yeah.
If there's times where I have been wasteful and something's gone moldy and I'm like, oh no, I've totally missed that. There's a ritual that goes behind acknowledging that bit of material, where it came from, who grew it, what is it about, to then going into the bucket, to then feeding, we call it the beast.
Yeah.
Daisy has created this whole like folklore around who it is, and we base it on the White Witch of Wales. Ceridwith's cauldron, and her story and narrative is making a potion which is a portal to the underworld, which then when you drink this potion you learn from it, and it's like the fountain of knowledge.
Wow.
So we kind of like, so anytime I am wasteful, I think of like, it's going to go and feed this cauldron, and that's okay, and there just becomes this like emotional relationship to the material.
Yeah. And this is where that social stigma of waste things, you don't do anything with human manure yet. At some point, maybe a thing. But I also think about that myself. So I mean, I was quite a large lad, maybe 10 years ago, and I didn't understand that nutritional value of stuff and what was eating it. But obviously microbes eat. We don't eat, microbes eat. And sometimes, you think about that process of, when you do have to relieve yourself, that process is obviously those nutritional values, etc. A lot of people say, I poo quite a lot in respects to what I do. And that poop loop is quite important. We do it with animals because we obviously put that back on land, but we don't do it with human. And the problem that we have is that because our diets are so interesting. I was going to say bad, but that's not it depends on the person. But actually, if you think about this being a stomach in respect to ears, at least when we're coming out the other side, it can be put something back in. And I think we just need to be a bit more thoughtful with it. So we're going to go through all the process. If you can talk us through all the bits that you have, and this amazing machine, which I'm sure I'm going to get loads of comments of this machine. Sophie, let's introduce the pink machine.
The community actually decided the colour of this, which is perfect, worm pink. So this is our cardboard perforator, designed and made by Javier from Singular Mars. And basically, we wanted this because at our first site, we were shredding cardboard by hand, and in winter it was horrific. And cardboard it's a really essential part of the maturation bay. It retains moisture. It's really good bedding for worms. It also helps fungi carry itself through and penetrate itself through the maturation bays. So Hannah, our previous director, the founder of Hay Regenerative Soils, was like, you know what? Like, I've seen this guy do this cool thing, and it was one of Tom's friends from Old Tree Soil, and she was like, I think we need this. Like, I think this would really benefit us. And we had a lot of debates between getting a perforator or a shredder, and we ended up going for the perforation route because it kind of added to the circular economy as well of what Hay-on-Wye is. Like, we are a town of books. We're a tourist town. There's a lot of shops here. And recycling day, there is cardboard everywhere. Oh my goodness, we're in no short supply of cardboard. And last year, the council actually removed the cardboard bins from the car park. So people are now having to pay to get their cardboard removed, which is classic. So we wanted to create something where we could... The town doesn't have to be wasteful with their cardboard. It's not kind of, again, being shipped out and being turned into God knows what, like out of sight, out of mind again. We wanted to make something that could be made into bio-packaging. So businesses will bring us their cardboard, we will perforate it, we use some in our maturation bays, and then they get it back as bio packaging. So they're no longer having to buy bio packaging online. It's all coming from the waste of Hay-on-Wye.
What I love about this machine more than anything else is you've got a little seat for it as well.
I know, yeah, and it's adjustable.
Adjustable, nice.
It's an adjustable little seat.
So, let's have a look at the process then.
So it's bicycle powered because, again, we didn't want anything that needed to be plugged into the mains. We kind of like the idea of calling it our little compost gym. So we can come in here and have a little workout, which is great. Oh, and it's actually just really fun when we're in here for volunteers and there's not enough jobs for everyone to be doing, that there's always cardboard to be perforated.
So the perforation on this is what I normally see. I'm going to say that nasty word, Amazon.
Oh my gosh.
in those kind of things. It's quite cool, but yeah, it gives it a little more depth to it as well.
It also feels a lot more structured using it in the maturation bays too. I do like this stuff. It's very aerated, so we kind of mix it up a bit by kind of scrunching the perforated cardboard to layering it down flat and kind of analysing the differences. But it's just such an amazing resource, like the fact that it's being shipped away to God knows where. Again, that out of sight, out of mind, we find really sad.
So we're looking at other carbon sources that you need for the riding. So what have you got here, Sophie?
So this is kind of like a lot of different types of carbon going on in here, and all of our members match equal parts, 1-to-1. Each bucket of food waste is a bucket of carbon, and this stuff kind of comes from all over the town, really. We have a spoon whittler who drops off a lot of his stuff that's been discarded. Sometimes you get spoons in there, which is great. We've got someone that drops off their guinea pig bedding, which love that. Again, it means she's not having to put it in the bin. She's bringing it here, which is going into valuable materials. And we have volunteers who go around and seek out carbon piles, which is amazing. A couple of tree surgeons. We have issues in here of people bringing in damp stuff, and once it's wet and it gets in here, there's the risk of it just being a little bit too damp to go into the riding. We definitely prefer the material to be quite dry when it goes in there. But also, funnily enough, it's quite hard to get hold of, considering we're in quite a rural town and there's a lot of tree surgeons. I think it's more set and setting. Like, there's a lot of people that will just be like, okay, I can just dump a ton outside, and that doesn't work for us because we're associated with the castle. So it's a lot of every month. It's kind of like, we need carbon. Someone needs to find some carbon. So yeah, it's weird that it's quite hard to find.
It's a big shout out then for anyone around your local area.
Anyone local, drop it off. We're at Hay Castle. If you can distribute it directly into here, that would be amazing.
But you know, he's like a...
It is.
The
Our
beast. The beast.
We've got to feed the beast.
You've got to feed the beast.
Guys, you've all got to come and feed the beast.
So let's chat about ridings. So you used to use drawers before. Mm-hmm. What was the reason for the upgrade?
Mainly capacity. So we were getting a lot of interest. We were fully booked with the Duraform and needed something a lot bigger. And we were really keen on the drop-off service. And with the Dura, it was input, kind of weekly turns, and then you have to go in there and physically empty it. And we knew that wouldn't work so much with people paying for the service, that they had to kind of do all this labor associated with it. Whereas this, they're just feeding and handles being turned, and then there's an exit. So it's less labor intensive, I guess. And it's mainly capacity. We needed something that was going to take on a lot more food waste than the Jura could. But I do love the Jura. I do.
What the hell have you got there?
These are spent mushroom blocks from Marsh's Mushrooms. So, and she also makes amazing compost. But we also use these as a carbon source. So once these are bone dry, which they are now, we either pop them in here. So, oh my God. Ah! As a carbon source, and we sprinkle them over our maturation bays. So again, it's just adding carbon and fungi to the process. Obviously, when it goes through the Ryden, we're hitting temperatures from 53 to 70 degrees every week. So really, it's kind of just used as a carbon source in the Ryden rather than to introduce any fungi, but directly into the maturation bays. When we've used them specifically on the perforated cardboard, you can see those fungal filaments, which is really cool.
So for people that don't know what that is, what is it? What is that actual stuff then? Is it
I think
sawdust?
this one's hemp actually.
Hemp?
I think. Oh no, it's a type of grain. I don't think there is any hemp ones up there at the minute. So yeah, this is her medium for growing mushrooms on. So we know it's been absolutely perforated with fungal hyphae. There is one source that I get it from as well, that are down south, and they grow native mushrooms, UK native mushrooms, which I definitely prefer them, because if it's going in our compost and then it kind of goes back out, we want them to be native mushrooms. So if those spores kind of get back into the environment, so thinking about those things is always really interesting as well. Like what we're putting back into the environment has to be beneficial. Ba-da-da. But it's it's interesting. I mean, I love it. It's funny actually when members come in here and they're like, "Oh, what's that on top of the Ryden? Can I have it?"
Thank you for joining us today. Greatly appreciated. It's always nice to hear what members are doing with this, and why you want to compost. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Jessa Carta, and I recently just moved to Hay. And Compost Club was actually one of the reasons for moving to Hay.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, there were many. There were others, but knowing that there was this level of engagement with soil and community and regenerative ecology really made it feel like a place that I knew I could root.
Okay.
It felt really important.
So obviously your accent's not from this area.
No,
So whereabouts are you from?
I'm from California, from the West Coast.
Okay.
I've lived up and down the West Coast of the United States.
And in respects to food waste, etc., in America, what's it what's it like? Is it the same as what you see in the UK, or?
I'd say it really depends on where you are in the States. It's such a big place that there's a lot of pockets of people that are quite open, and this kind of practice is very legible and vital to them. And then there's other places where people will not touch it because they're scared of the implications of it,
The ick factor.
The ick factor. Yeah. Just being something that's out of the norm, and they haven't had the chance to have much exposure and education around and personal experience around it. I feel like I was lucky enough to have that, getting permaculture certifications and working on farms and growing up in the Bay Area, and with the backdrop of big ag, the salad bowl of the world is where they called where I grew up. So I was always kind of aware of that. And it wasn't until I was, much older that I got to really understand the implications of all of that. And so it's been a personal practice of mine for a long time. And so when I see it as an initiative in a community, and especially in the way that Compost Club does, this kind of marriage of art and science, it just lights me up. It feels
Cool.
like the most important thing.
And that's the thing, is that disconnection with the land and us as humans, unfortunately, is getting more distant. And what I really think is for the future is that you know, we need to understand where our food comes from, how it's grown, etc. But also, this is your waste, isn't it?
This is my
This is your waste.
Yeah.
Mostly, obviously, coffee is quite key in the waste stream. But actually, you know, I think you agree with me. Having this bucket and being able to see what you're wasting gives you a bit more understanding of your lifestyle and obviously what you put into it. So, is it vegetarian, vegan, or is it
Veg.
Yeah, just mostly veg.
Yeah, mostly veg. I mean, yeah, we love our honey.
Okay.
Yeah, we love an occasional cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine.
But it's
So
all
most of the waste that
contextual.
goes into here is vegetables,
Yeah.
coffee grinds,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's have a look and see what we're doing then.
So you gotta take the lid off and be very wary of the steam that's gonna come out. Actually, it's not that hot
Oh, it's
today.
not too
so
hot today.
I've gotten a whole load of steam in the face before.
Quick look in there.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Not too many flies, to be honest.
Not
It's
too many
yeah.
flies. Not too bad. I've seen worse. Seen more, seen less. And then you grab the bucket. So we take our drop-off bin, our compost collection bin. Just let her rip.
In she goes.
And she goes. Yeah, a whole lot of coffee. Then you do the carbon in equal measure to whatever was in your food waste bucket. And that goes in alongside. And this is all kinds of stuff. Wood shavings from the local spoon maker and carpenters of all sorts. And that's about what was in the bucket because it wasn't quite full.
About 50-50 on it.
Yeah. So then this one goes right inside. And then you pop the lid back on. And come on down and give it a big turn. Wait, this way? Yeah, this way. Yeah. And then it's going to be pushing stuff out the other end that's essentially ready to go in the maturation bays.
So what issues do you have with in this bucket? Does it compost everything all the way through, or?
Sometimes it does not, and that is the job of the volunteers to get in there and see if things need to go back in once again, because you can kind of see there's a bit of egg that's still fully formed.
Yeah.
It kind of just depends. So sometimes they need a second run, and sometimes there's bones that you need to pick out for the biochar, and sometimes they're ready for the worms.
Cool, thank you.
So once it's gone through the ride-in, it usually takes about 2 weeks. Poops out the other end. We sift through it to ensure no like whole potatoes are going in, huge bits of chicken, whatnot. So we kind of fine tune it down to a smaller material. And then we just pop it in. So we do this 3 times a week. And it's usually like quite a big mound. And then we water it in and then put our delicious perforated cardboard on top. And then usually every week as well, we stab some more holes in just to ensure that it's aerated and that water can penetrate all the way through the material. So once we're full to the top, it's in the maturation stage, so we no longer input material onto it. We usually layer it with loads of cardboard. We keep an eye on moisture levels, ensure that it's watered enough. And yeah, this is where you can really visually see the fungal growth take over. And once this is at a temperature that's below 40, we add the worms. So at the minute, we're using some of our finished living soil to make an extract and pouring it on to kind of keep adding that biology through what we like to call our mother piles. So the living soil that's been tested and is teeming with life, we start adding it onto here. But then this will sit now for 6 months, and then we get it tested.
So what have we got here, Sophie?
So this is a maturation bay that's currently maturing. This was the members' food waste from the last 2 months, mixed with those carbon sources, and this is only about 2 months old. You cannot tell that that was food waste.
Looks beautiful.
It's so good. Look at all those worm eggs. Oh my goodness.
So this is the labour of all your love at the end of the process. It does smell delicious, actually.
There's a little bonio in there.
So this is the final product the members get?
Yeah, so once this is finished maturing, we will send samples off to Perry at Soil Redemption. He will analyse it, ensure that it is complete with the soil microorganisms, and then our members receive it back. And then whatever's left, we sell to the local community. We pour this in, it's just to kind of catch the big bits of food waste and take out any bones, like onion skin.
So this process is quite important, obviously, when it comes out the other side of Ryden is, you know, what's left and what goes back in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very interested to know other people's processes with the Ryden. So this is just kind of like fine tuning what goes into the maturation bay. We found with our first maturation bay, we weren't so like banana peel, we weren't sieving it and going through it, and the maturation bay outside, that first one that's maturing, it was at 50 degrees for weeks.
That's too hot.
And it was so it was still composting in there and breaking down. So now we put all the things that would be making that maturation bay hot back through. But yeah, this was all food waste. The Ryden gets input on a Sunday. So we come on a Monday to ensure temperatures up, it gets a turn, and obviously with every turn, material comes out. So we process that, put it back through, or put it in the maturation bays. We do it on a Wednesday because Thursday we're fully booked with members dropping off. So we want to ensure that there's room in there for 60 litres to go through. And then the same on a Friday because Saturday.
Oh. So what we've got here, Sophie?
So this is the bucket that our collection gets. So this is a 20 litre bucket. So their collection happens once a month. They get a clean bucket, a tub of Bokashi, and a paddle that's been supplied to us by Wiggly Wigglers. Thank you very much, Wiggly Wigglers. So we advise every layer of food waste, they put a little bit of Bokashi over it and then compress it with the paddle. So this is the fermentation process of what we do. So we only do this with collection members because it's a monthly collection. The drop-offs are dropping off weekly. So we find for the collection members, it reduces the quantity of food waste that's in there. So they kind of get more out of their 20 litre bucket.
Thank you very much for today. It's been amazing. Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you soon on another podcast.
Thanks for visiting.
Thank you.